Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Homer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit or wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with a Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at zambuliquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, Central Illinois. Today's guest is the president of Dale Carnegie Training of Greater Illinois. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Bill Soddy. How are you doing, Bill?
Good, doing good, everybody. Post 4th of July weekend, I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Well,
everybody's in recovery mode, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, including my dogs. My dogs do not like 4th of July, so they are still recovering. And someone had some leftover fireworks last night, and my dog was on edge, just absolutely wouldn't lay down. Yeah, it was rough, but oh well. We'll get through it. All right. Well, Bill, we're excited to hear about your story, learn more about Dale Carnegie Training. But before we do, Bill, we're going to take you through some of our icebreaker questions to get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
Great. Let's do it.
Okay. So, Bill, I'll ask you this, and then I'm going to ask Garrett the same question.
Perfect.
So Bill, other than Dale Carnegie Training or being a trainer or educator, what would be your dream job if you could do anything in the entire world? Money wasn't an issue, time wasn't an issue, skills weren't an issue. What is your dream job?
It's good. I think I'd go back to my passion for it. When I first started out, looking at college, I really wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. And
cool.
Yeah, and I ended up, there's a twist of a couple of fates that took me out of that as a career pursuing, but one of which my parents said, "Oh, but you'll be squeezed into a cockpit and you won't be using your skills as a communicator." So it kind of took me out. So I think I'd go back. I think it'd be interesting to do. Yeah, like just if I could do anything, I think it'd be pretty cool to do. So
I like it. That's a good one. Yeah, that is cool. Garrett, I don't remember if I've asked you this one or if this has been a question, but what is your dream job?
I bet you could guess it.
I'm going to say baseball player.
Absolutely. If I could, I love baseball. I love teaching baseball. I love helping my kids and the youth teams that I coach. If there was anything that I could go do, I would say either play Major League Baseball or I think jump on the trend of joining the Savannah Bananas.
There you go.
They have a blast,
That's awesome.
And I've been lucky enough to watch them in person. So I would say some type of a professional baseball player.
Nice.
Yep. I can't disagree. If I could pitch for the Chicago Cubs, I don't think I could do much worse than some of them right now.
Yeah.
But being a pitcher for the Cubs, I also, two other things. I've been asked this in another podcast is why I wrote this down. I was a guest in a podcast and they asked me this. And back in the day, like when I was younger, if I could have answered this question, I would have been a WWF wrestler like Stone Cold Steve Austin or a professional deer hunter. Now I know that doesn't appeal to every listener, but that's one of my passions is just wildlife in general. And if I could get paid to manage wildlife as far as, managing timber, managing food and nutrition and growing animals and watching animals and that type of stuff. Hunting is a part of it for controlling the population, but that would be something that I would love to do too. So anyway, awesome. So it's a bunch of good answers, not just mine, both of you too. So, all right, Bill, if you could pick any spot in the world to take a vacation to, where would it be and why?
So that I haven't been yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking off the top of your head. We just talked about Destin, Florida, but that doesn't have to be it.
Right. We did. All right. Destin second, Japan first, probably.
There we go.
I've always wanted to go there. I find the whole culture very fascinating. And it's been at the top of my list. My wife actually had a trip planned for me on a milestone birthday back in 20 20. So you can
Uh-huh.
imagine what
Oh
happened,
yeah. Yep.
back during COVID. But we've got kids now, 2 boys, 6 and 7. But I'll make it back there for sure.
Awesome.
I'd like to get there at some point for sure. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Garrett, I feel like I have asked this one to you. Where would you go?
I don't remember you asking it, but that doesn't mean that my memory isn't short. So,
Okay.
well, I would venture to say just getting back from vacation and dealing with a hurricane. I would not choose a destination if a hurricane is forecasted to hit you in the next 7 days while you were there. So we were just in Mexico and got to experience my first hurricane.
Oh, wow.
I'll go back to my baseball answer on this. As a little kid, my whole life, I've always wanted to go see Fenway Park.
Yep.
I would love to go to Boston and check out Fenway Park. My kids are begging to go out there, both of them avid baseball fans like myself. So right now that may sound like I don't know, a bad answer, but I'd like to take them to Fenway Park sometime and check it out.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of a World War II, I won't say fanatic because that's the wrong thing to be a fanatic about, but like the history of World War II.
Yeah.
I would love to take a tour of the European theater, the war kind of, Omaha Beach and just kind of the path through Europe during World War II is something I've always wanted to do and would plan. I'm not saying we're planning on it, but I've put that on the list of something I'd like to take a look at is the World War II history overseas and I just like learning about it. Actually, this morning I found a podcast. Actually, it was on vacation when I was in Destin, Florida. I was looking for something new to listen to while I was on my morning walk, and I found a history podcast, and one was about the history of World War II, and so like I guess that's probably why I'm thinking of it in my head. But anyway, that would be my dream vacation.
That's awesome.
So let's see. Last question, Bill.
Yeah.
What do you feel is the biggest issue for business leaders today?
Culture. I
Culture?
definitely
Yeah.
say culture. Yeah, just from the perspective of having a culture that other people want to join and stay with. Honestly, that'd be at the top, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't disagree. Garrett, what do you think?
Woo, he took the best answer, I think, right there.
Sorry,
I
Garrett.
I would absolutely say culture is one of them. I would say number two would I think when we talk to most business owners with, insurance, when it comes to Derek and I, finding good employees, that's in stable employees. A lot of that could be due to the culture though, as far as that goes. But I would say finding employees right now.
Yeah. Yep. I think there's a lot of issues that business owners and business leaders are running into. I think to find young, talented, I hate to say young, but talented individuals, they obviously want to be a part of something that is inspiring and growing and feel like they're contributing in some way. And so that culture is a big thing. Um, you hear of places that I listen to a bunch of different podcasts, but the places where culture is thriving, they have a laundry list of applicants. So I think culture can solve the employment issue occasionally.
For sure.
But your smaller businesses that I hate to say don't have time or don't have the know-how to build the culture, they're kind of working in the business versus on the business. I think that can be a struggle. I think there's a lot of issues, but culture, employees, and just finding a way to keep up with technology.
Yeah.
For a lot of small businesses is a big struggle. So I think there's a lot of things that kind of go along with that culture answer. So anyway, a lot of things that business owners are needing help with. And Bill, this is your chance to kind of tell your story, explain a little bit about Dale Carnegie and maybe how you can help train some of those business leaders. Before you do that, I guess, take us back a little bit, tell us how you started and then how you got into the Dale Carnegie Training Program.
Sure. So it'd take me probably a half hour. I know that's our segment today to tell you this really crazy story. And I really believe that it was God's work. Me just stumbling across Dale Carnegie Training back in 1998. And I met by chance the owner of the Dale Carnegie franchise in Illinois. And just things took off from there. And I began teaching in 2000 our Dale Carnegie programs, and then went on to get certified in a couple other programs that we deliver. And now find myself today just being so passionate about helping people grow and become happier, I just decided to take the plunge this year and do this full time. So it's kind of,
Very
that's a little
cool.
bit on me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Second part of your question, I think, guys, that you wanted me to touch on here is a little bit of the history on Dale Carnegie. Um, Dale Carnegie is really considered in many circles as one of the founders of self-improvement, right? Back in 1912, Dale had been teaching public speaking classes in downtown New York City for like 2, 3 years. He was doing this at night after work, and his public speaking classes were so popular, there were waiting lists of people to get in. And he did it very successfully and probably could have kept doing it, but he realized that there's a lot more to life than simply being a good public speaker and communicator. Very important for sure, but there's a lot more to being happy and successful in your personal life and in your career. So he took a team of people and they went out on sabbatical and they traveled the world and they basically asked people in the interviews this: what's made you successful and what's held you back? And after 2 years of talking to people about those two questions, they came back together, and Dale and his partners put together the Dale Carnegie Principles, which are 30 guiding principles to live and work by if you want to be successful and happy in your personal life and in your professional career. And so when Carnegie got those 30 principles put together, he developed the Dale Carnegie course, which at the time was a 12-week personal self-improvement course, and then wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is still a bestseller out in the marketplace today. There's 30 chapters in that book, one for each of the principles, that just brilliantly walk you through, no kidding, great stories about how people have failed miserably and succeeded brilliantly using the principles that we advocate using. And that's kind of the foundation of our organization. That was back in 1912. Fast forward, obviously, over 100 years. That course is still with us today. It's one of the most globally proven personal, professional leadership courses. But we have many other courses in public speaking. In fact, we have over 150 different learning topics that we can kind of plug and play in a custom fashion, put together, and help people grow. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of who we are as an organization.
Very cool. Very cool. So for your courses or trainings, are you typically training in front of, let's say, is it a general group of people who have purchased access? Or are you going out to businesses and teaching their leadership teams or their teams in general? How are you delivering some of this training?
Yeah, good question. So we deliver both in person and live online. Many of the providers out in the marketplace have that self-paced. You can go online at 1 o'clock in the morning and start a learning module. That's not as much us. We really believe in a live instructor-led experience for a variety of reasons. It's one of our differentiators. So we usually in person or live online. We do a lot of on-site custom solutions, custom training for businesses. I'm working with a business right now down in Teutopolis that wants to do a leadership course for the women in their facility. So elevating women within their business. It's a really cool initiative, and that would be an in-person. I have a customer I'm working with right now that has a geographically dispersed group of leaders, and we're going to do a live online session for them. So kind of both, really.
Cool.
So
Cool.
kind of a la carte, you can choose what type you're really looking for that best suits you or your business.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, when you go, so are you going to Teutopolis, or are you doing that online?
So I'm
Tongue
actually,
twister.
yeah, I don't know if our customer or if our customer will be listening to this because I haven't sent the proposal over just yet. But I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about doing here is doing a live online with one of our corporate experts in this particular topic, and then having doing that live online, a 2-hour session, then breaking out into they want actually a 2-day on-site experience for the women leaders in their organization. So then doing the first 2 hours live online, and then doing in person the rest of the day and a half, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, the only reason I asked, well, for education purposes, of course, so our listeners know what the opportunities are. Second reason is if you go to T-Town,
See,
prepared.
that's slang for our area because T-Town's
Yes.
just in our backwoods here as
Yes.
far as that goes.
Yes.
So
So if you go to T-Town, just be prepared. They could take you to some beverage locations.
Great.
Yes. And it is they are widely known as a community that can handle their liquor really well. So
Gotcha. All right, I'll be prepared.
so if
I'll be
they
ready.
ask you about a place you want to go, my wife and I's first date was at a place called the Brickbat. So
Okay,
if you go into that, if you say, hey, I'd like to go take a look at the Brickbat, they're gonna be like, they're gonna think you know what you're talking about. So
all right, got it in the back
So-
pocket. That's awesome.
it's a great tight knit. I mean, Derek and I talk about it all the time. For a small town, they are just a very tight knit, great community. I mean, I always had epic battles against them in sports growing up because I grew in a town just outside of them. But they are a great community. They really and always thriving. It seems like, you know.
Hey, Central Illinois professionals, do you know where people go to learn more about you? They typically either go to your About Us section of your website or your LinkedIn profile. And guess what the first impression is that they see? That's right, it is your professional headshot. Your headshot is part of your brand. Your brand should proudly show the world how passionate you are about delivering quality products and services to your customers. At Studio 21, you won't get the boring old headshots that everyone else has. When you get photos with Melissa Hardin at Studio 21, your headshots will show off your strength, confidence, and approachability. To book a professional headshot appointment for you and your team, call Melissa at 217-962-0048 or visit www.melissamharden.com. That's MELISSAMHARDEN.com. And let Melissa at Studio 21 help you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
great, great community to be able to connect with through the Carnegie training for sure. So
Awesome. Great. Thanks for the tips.
yes. So I'm looking at the website. So I went to dalecarnegie.com and then I clicked on the Central Illinois location.
Yes.
And I'm just looking through some of the courses, upcoming courses. One thing that I noticed is you actually give training, it looks like, to presenters and speakers. So people who are speaking to others, do you give training to people who are also presenting to other people?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So we got back to Dale's roots. At one point, I wasn't involved in the organization at the time, but we developed as an organization one of our core programs, which is high impact presentations. And it's literally a boot camp style 2-day immersion into presenting. So people come and they deliver 7 presentations in 2 days. Each one is recorded, and there's two instructors that teach that course. So there's an in-room instructor. So as you're delivering your presentation, you're getting hands-on feedback, stop, try this, let's do this a little bit different, let's go back and hear that again, kind of stuff. And then each is recorded. So at the end of your presentation, you take your jump drive, you go to a private review room, you watch your video, your presentation, you self-critique, you get even more feedback from a second instructor, and then you set goals to improve for the next presentation that you're going to give. And we cover a whole range of topics with that one, everything from how to motivate others to action, through presentations, to communicating complex information. How do you not only do that successfully, but in a way that people actually want to embrace it and do something with the information? And then how do you motivate others to embrace change in the organization? So we have a really unique thing at the end of that course where people put together a presentation they have to take back to their organization and present an idea to improve something in the organization. And we've got a 6-step process that we teach. And then they get a chance to practice that presentation before they leave the training.
Very
so that's
cool.
how the capstone
Nice.
went. Yeah, it's a neat program.
Yeah. I'm looking at a lot of the course, the training topics, and I see sales, leadership, high impact presentations, leadership skills. So you mentioned how many topics total are offered?
Yeah, over 150 different
Okay.
Oh, wow.
learning
Yeah.
modules. Yeah, so everything from managing stress and worry to navigating disagreement to leveling up your emotional intelligence to selling. We have a number of sales modules, presentation modules. And that Dale Carnegie course that I described to you is currently, in its current version, is an 8-week course. And there's 16 of those 150 modules that are built into that particular program. So
wow.
we
talked a little bit about some of the issues that businesses are running into, and I think one of the most feared terms in business is sales or selling.
Absolutely.
And most people look at sales as like, oh, I don't want to pressure people into buying something. I don't want to get, the being told no and getting beat up and being asked questions. In retrospect, though, every position in a business is selling in some way. Even if you're just a customer service representative, you are selling through your attitude, through your tone of voice, through your ability to help people. And that's really all sales is, even if you're not in a sales role.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of these courses could help people understand probably that sales is not something that you should be afraid of. You should embrace it, and you're already selling. Maybe you aren't even in a sales role per se, but taking these courses will help enhance your skills.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think, I think as I work with professionals, I've been coaching, people for the last 20 years. It feels like even more now than ever, people feel a lot of pressure to deliver results, right? Whether it's in sales, or in customer service, or in operations to get more done, more efficiently. There's that pressure there. And the biggest advice that I give people, whether they're selling or whatever they're doing in their organization, is to step back for a second and really focus on not the result that you're trying to
Yeah.
get. Rather, focus on being a more likable, engageable, and relatable person. And that's really that's where Carnegie started our organization is, how do you become a kind of person that others gravitate to? Because think about it, if you have that, if people want to be around you, they want to talk to you, want to listen to you, like sales are easier. Operations, getting people to embrace change is easier. Getting people to make more widgets per hour is a lot easier. So many things become easier when you're strong at that. And I work with so many people, I feel like, that are an 8 or a 9 on the knowledge scale, but they really struggle to be a likable person who can connect with others, and build rapport and relationships, take an interest in them. I don't know. So I get passionate about it, so I'll stop there. But
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of plays into it's a factor.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I got from it, there was a part in the book to where the guy went to a party, I think with his wife, if I remember, he didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And everybody told the wife that like he was the best conversation person that I could have been around. He's like, I literally said 5 words the whole time. It was just listening, right? And I think as salespeople, sometimes we spew too much information and just instead of sitting back and asking a few questions and letting them tell you what the problem is, right? And I mean, that book was so good on basically it. I took from sit down, shut up, and let them talk, and that was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, that's a big one for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
I was just going to say too, I think one thing that's kind of so related to that a bit, the social side of it, Garrett reminded me of this. The Dale Carnegie course, that core program of ours, I think what's really differentiating about it is we focus both professionally and personally. And so it's about how do I sell more for my organization, but it's also about how do I be a better spouse?
Sure.
And how do I be a better dad or mother, right? So it's, I don't know. I get very passionate about the personal side of it. I actually had a really cool thing happen last week. There was a guy who took the course, Dale Carnegie course with me here in Bloomington, back in 2018. And he reached out to me and said, hey, can we connect? So we had a quick virtual meeting last week. His name's Rohan. And he had a pretty challenging relationship with his dad. And for many years, for really his whole lifetime. And his parents came over from India while he was taking the Dale Carnegie course. And he worked very diligently at building a better relationship with his dad as a result of some of the stuff he learned, in the class. And he said, Bill, the reason I wanted to meet with you today is I wanted to let you know that my dad passed away. And because of the gains that I made in the Dale Carnegie course, I had the best 3 years with him that I've ever had in my entire life. And I got to tell you, I'm getting a little choked up.
Sure.
That's just powerful stuff. And it's humbling to have an opportunity to help people grow like that. Professionally, yes, but also personally on the personal side. So
that's excellent.
That's
excellent.
Awesome.
Yes. So, Bill, you recently made the jump and became president of the Dale Carnegie Training of Greater Illinois.
Yes.
So, you've obviously had some growing hurdles over the past few weeks and months. What do you feel are some of the hurdles you've had to overcome making that jump to becoming, the president of the Greater Illinois area?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think being somewhat of a risk-averse person traditionally, it was a big leap for me, and I think for me personally, I've really focused a lot on managing stress and worry, which thankfully, and this isn't a plug, but we do have 25 principles that are dedicated to managing stress and worry, and I've been using the heck out of them. Just to be honest with you, I mean, I still wake up some mornings and I look at the ceiling and I think, am I going to be able to take my kids to Disney World? For the next few years. So I have moments like that, but I really think the stress and worry, I think, has been one. And then also figuring out how to scale. During COVID, we scaled back quite a bit. Quite honestly, I've never been so thankful to be a taxpayer and get the benefit of being able to apply for that CARES Act grant lending that was out there. It really helped our organization stay alive, and we've been in process of ramping up, and we have a lot more that we have to do. So I think working on scale for me personally is another big one.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
What are some things that you're doing that you feel is helping you with that scale and growth?
Yeah, so one thing I guess I didn't mention is I think I might have subtly mentioned it, but we're a global organization.
Okay.
We're in 80 countries and we teach our programs in over 30 different languages. And our network of professionals is huge. And I've really been a diligent student of other people and their successes. And I was talking to a former franchise owner back here just this morning, and he told me, hey, here's how I failed miserably trying to get the Montana franchise up and running. So I've really focused on trying to learn. So Garrett, to your point about just listening, I've asked so many questions from people like, hey, what's made you successful, and how have you overcome challenges? And I think it's helped a lot, actually.
Yeah. Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking at the website again, Bill, and it looks like there are some classes coming up in the fall. Now, are you leading those classes, or at least most of them? I see one in Bloomington, several in Bloomington, Rockford, Peoria. Tell us a little bit about those and kind of what that entails.
Yeah, sure. So we have an instructional staff. We have different trainers that work for us, both part-time and part-time. The classes here in Bloomington, we've got the Dale Carnegie course. So that's our foundational self-improvement leadership course. That's an 8-week, and that starts here in Bloomington on August 21st, if I'm remembering right. And I will be teaching that program. That's the core program that I kind of gave you the nuts and bolts of. And then we're also doing the high impact presentations course, which the three of us just talked about a few minutes ago. I'll be the trainer for both of those. I'll be the lead trainer for both of those, as well as that Rockford class. So you just happen to pick the three that I'm going to be teaching here real soon, but I have colleagues that are going to be teaching in some other areas and doing some live online stuff too.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
Let's say I'm a business owner and maybe I'm not sure which direction my company needs to go, or maybe where we need some help. Do you come in situations and kind of help them diagnose what classes may be good for their culture or their organization?
Yeah, that's a great question, Garrett. So back to your point about listening, we do a lot of that. We don't push solutions on people. I mean, some programs are more profitable than others. I think that's the case with any business, but we don't lead with anything. We come in and just ask organizations, get to know what they're trying to achieve, and then help put a solution in place that'll get them there. Quite honestly, the most impactful way. Yeah.
Very cool. So again, I keep going back to the website because there's a lot of information on it, but I clicked on the tab that says resources, and it looks like there's a ton of maybe even free resources. Mentioned some podcasts, some presentations, case studies, ebooks, just kind of giving some tips. I'm sure it's not as much as you would get in a full session, but a lot of information that people can kind of learn and get their feet wet with some of the Dale Carnegie information. Tell us a little bit about those items.
Yeah, so I think that's another thing that I really enjoy about being a franchise in a global organization is We have a lot of resources corporately. Dale Carnegie and Associates is headquartered out in New York City, and they do a tremendous job of supporting us. We have a whole thought leadership division that does a lot of primary research out in the marketplace on various topical issues that business leaders are facing. And there's some tremendous white papers out on dalecarnegie.com, as well as opportunities to enroll in some free sessions, which is another great thing. We use those to help kind of spread the word, help businesses out, especially ones that maybe aren't sure about us or maybe don't currently have the resources to to take on a huge training initiative. We're just trying to help businesses one way or the other, because we know if we help them now, maybe there'll be an opportunity for us to partner later. So
Sure.
I think our corporation does a really good job of providing businesses out there with a lot of good resources.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
and I'm guessing, like many other sales opportunities, when you partner with somebody, good experiences are passed on word of mouth, referrals come in as well. I mean, that's as good as it gets too.
Yeah, you just can't beat that. There's no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you how good we are, but if somebody else that you trust tells you, I mean,
Absolutely.
that's money for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, believe it or not, we are coming up on the 30-minute mark.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Okay,
I know
good.
it. I know it.
Yeah.
So before we jump off of here, is there any last word of wisdom or tidbit that you'd like to share with our listeners as we sign off today?
Yeah. So, people ask me all the time. They're like, "Well, what's the one thing? If I could just do one thing, what would it be?" Like, I understand you have like a million things you can do, but what would the one thing be? And I tell people, get outside of your comfort zone and stretch yourself. Do
Mhm.
things different, and particularly related to being a more likable, engaging, and relatable person. I mean, the more you can do that, create a gravitation, people wanting to be around you. So many things become so much easier, including parenting.
Yep.
If you'll just do those things. So I would say, if I could tell anybody anything, that would be probably my biggest one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, not to go above what your finishing statement there, but I always like to make a point when someone brings it up on the podcast. You mentioned people think that others who have done stuff knew how to do it before they did it. You know,
yeah.
so people think, oh, well, he started a business because his family has a business, or that person's successful because they went to college.
Yeah.
A lot of things in today's world, people want to do something and they just go do it. There's so many resources out there that you can learn from, and people that want to help you. If you want to do something, you've got to go do it.
Yeah.
I see a ton of people ask Garrett and I, well, how do you start a podcast? You buy a microphone, you start recording. That's it. It's
now it helps to have a good sense of humor, which you both appear to have.
Sure. It is helpful. It is helpful.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But it's not as difficult as people think. There are steps to everything you do, but you have to take the first step to start doing whatever it is you want to do. So I think that was a good piece, Bill, that you mentioned there at the end there. So if you want to do something, just do it.
Absolutely.
There you go. I guess anything else, Bill? Any final words of wisdom?
No,
Well, what's the best way someone could contact you?
There it is.
Yeah. So I would say definitely check out dalecarnegie.com, our corporate website. It has a lot of great resources out there for people. And to get in touch with us and to see what's going on here in Central Illinois, we have a franchise location on the site. It's centralil.dalecarnegie.com. So that's how you can get to centralil.dalecarnegie.com to get up with us. And if there's anything we can do to help you, be more than happy to. Even if it's just a chat and give you some advice, I'd be more than happy to. I've worked with a lot of businesses and a lot of people in the last 20 years. And if I can be a help people get their businesses up and going, like we were just talking about, I'd be more than happy to chat.
Great.
Perfect. Well, for all you loyal listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please leave us a review. You can also find us on social media, mainly on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can connect with Garrett and I there personally as well. Until next time, Bill, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.
What's up, Central Illinois? You know what you all need? You all need some CIBL podcast swag. And thanks to our newest sponsor, Jedco Sales, you can now find our swag at CIBLmerch.com. You can find t-shirts, sweatshirts, polos, hats, and more, all classically adorned with our famous CIBL podcast logo. If you want to represent and support your favorite podcast, check out CIBLmerch.com. That's CIBLmerch.com. If you like our store, you can also build your very own business swag store with the help of Jedco Sales in Effingham, Illinois. Jedco is owned by previous CIBL guests, Andrew and Laren Dial. They've set up a special discount offer for CIBL guests and listeners to set up your very own custom branded swag store. You can now offer branded apparel to your employees, customers, and fans, and Jedco will fulfill all the orders for you. Contact Jedco at sales@jedcosales.com. That's sales@JEDCO sales.com, and tell them that Garrett and Derek sent you. Let Jedco help you get noticed.